They pinned a yellow notice to my gate at dawn like it was a weather report, except this one said we were in violation, and if we didn't fix it, the county would remediate the property. They wanted the right-of-way. They wanted the hill where my sycamore stands. I'm Eli Turner, and I've been telling myself I'd leave the farm alone. Let the seasons do their thing, but when someone starts messing with the map of your life, you don't just watch it happen. You do something, or you hope somebody else will. That's the short version. The long version is what I want to tell you now, because it's one thing to lose a piece of earth on paper, and it's another to watch people try to take the people on it. We'd lived on Raven's Ridge longer than anyone around my hands learned the land. My wife taught our daughter Maya to whistle with 2 fingers, and the old sycamore sat like a crooked king at the top of our pasture, weathered and full of history. Carter Bellamy moved into the valley with plans and promises. He called his proposals community improvements, and his meetings vision nights, the kind of talk that smells like ambition and ledger books. Carter was smooth, his voice always an inch too warm, his smile measured. His son, Trent, was a different stripe, quick to laugh, quicker to follow a dare. When a developer and an entitled kid start circling your place, you'd be surprised how many neighbors pretend they can't hear the dogs barking. The first week it was fines for a fence that encroached an easement. The second week it was a letter accusing us of blocking access to a shared lane, a lane that had been a dirt track since my grandfather's pickup. I started recording. I've been in worse places. I'm ex-Army engineer. I can handle a cold night and a busted tractor, but nothing prepares you for your child missing from her bed. I grabbed my keys, the old truck, the little wrench my wife says I never leave home without, and I went out there running like a fool and like the only man who could. I found her at the sycamore, shaken, cheeks streaked, breathing hard but alive. There were scars on her hands where she'd grabbed bark, and there was Trent leaning against the trunk, hands in his pockets, trying to look casual. He looked like a kid who'd been dared and then stopped daring too late. When I showed up, all heat and brimstone, Trent tried to smooth it over with the kind of apology that's all muscle memory and entitlement. Hey, it was supposed to be a prank, Mr. Turner. We didn't mean. And Carter Bellamy, who had arrived in his slick truck like a man arriving to fix a light bulb, gave me that smile that says he's already called his lawyer in his head. Maya should know how we do things around here, he said, voice honeyed, as if the way he did things involved property lines and power and nothing as messy as remorse. I could have called the sheriff that night and let the system sort itself. I've worked with lawmen before. I knew how some of them like to keep the peace by folding it into paperwork. But we had an SD card that had captured the whole thing: timestamps, faces, a text thread that mentioned make it look bad and send a photo. A kid named Caleb, who'd been there and wanted out, sent a screenshot of a message from Trent saying Carter said it had to happen if they were going to get the easement. Reading that text in the glow of my kitchen light, with Maya beside me pressing her palms to warm mine, I decided we weren't going to hand this off to polite silence. There's this part of you that wants things to be brave and cinematic. You imagine the courtroom, the gallery of stunned faces, the villain on his knees. Real life is messy, eh? It involves call logs and forensics and the strange intimacy of waiting rooms. I brought the footage to Deputy Rosa Miller, an old friend from when I did volunteer projects with the county. She didn't gawk, didn't offer movie lines. She looked at the timestamps, pocketed the evidence, and said, "We'll handle it." But she also told me, quietly, that a lot of these cases evaporate because the bigger fish have friends. Carter Bellamy had money, a label, the HOA behind him, and once a story smells like profit, people who should care get busy. So I did something that felt both stupid and necessary. I took the evidence public. Not in a courtroom first. I wanted the people who would testify, who saw the trucks come and go, who had receipts and grudges, to know the truth and speak. I printed screenshots, made copies of the text thread, and I walked the neighborhood. Some doors closed, others opened. Finley, who runs the feed store and remembers when the county map had fewer lines, handed me an old survey showing the lane had never been officially dedicated. Dr. Evans from the clinic, who stitches more than wounds, he stitches facts, offered a written note about Maya's injuries and the general tone of fear that had followed her for weeks. Mrs. Lopez next door produced photos of a truck that matched Trent's bumper scrape the night the sycamore was checked. Small things, but a chain builds from small things. We scheduled a community meeting, Rogue, not Carter's vision night, at the old Grange Hall. I had no idea how many would show up. The hall smelled like coffee in August and the kind of heat that comes from bodies close together. The wall of his smile didn't look so smooth anymore when it was a printed face in a fluorescent hall. That night shifted things. The HOA board, which had been a paper tiger wrapped in high chairs and polished words, started to feel pressure. The county opened an inquiry. Deputy Miller filed charges. I expected pride, maybe relief. What I didn't expect was how some folks would double down. How the ones who had been promised jobs or a percentage of the build would circle around Carter as if wrong were a rumor they wanted to sponsor. There were threats, 2 anonymous notes pushed under mail slots, a plumber's van that idled too long outside my place. You learn, fast, that standing for something sometimes invites a lot of people to test it. We didn't have a Hollywood finish. There was no dramatic arrest through courthouse doors with orchestral music. There were court dates, a press conference, and a hearing where Carter smiled, and then, slowly, what looked like certainty folded into a pile of subpoenas. Trent's parents sent lawyers. Trent himself looked like a boy who'd lost the right light to stand in. Caleb testified, voice shaking, fingers twisting the edges of his shirt. Deputy Miller presented the chain of messages and the footage. Trent wrote a letter of apology that was messy and human. Maya read it and said, he sounded like a kid who's trying on remorse. Some neighbors patched fences together and bought a round of thanks at the feed store. Others, quietly, kept their distance. Maybe it's just different because we saw the edge and stepped back. What I want you to take from this, and please, tell me in the comments what you would do, is not that I'm a hero or that all developers are villains. I'm a man who decided the story was worth telling, who collected pieces until they made a picture.